Hi, and welcome to What Page Type Should I Use When? Hey, my name is Eric, and in this video we're going to play with page types. We all know pages are how we create UI. There's a bunch of different types of pages, and when are you supposed to use what type and how are they related? So that's that is what we're going to do in this video. So let's get right into it. Here is Visual Studio Code, and just before the video, let me actually click on it before I try to make it bigger. Just before the video started, I created a page, so an empty extension with a page, and you can see we have a source table and we have some layout and content area and a field. And when let's add another field now that we are at it. So we'll add the number field, and we always need the application area, and we got squiggly lines because this is actually rec.number. So let's run this one. If you noticed, one thing about this page was that it did not really live up to the title of the video because there were no page type. So what did we get? Well, we clearly got what is known as a card. So in Business Central, there are two types of pages. One is a entity-based page, and the other is a list-based page. Two types. So the one type is entity-based, the other type is list-based. So now we got something that clearly looks like a card, and I could improve this and say page type equal, and then we can see we've got a whole bunch of pages here. Some of them we're excluding from this video to begin with. API is just that an API is also a page, but a page is not an API soon. It's kind of weird. So let's talk about APIs in another video. If you like that, you need to subscribe, and then let me know in the comments below if APIs is something that we should spend time on. I haven't done anything with APIs in any video because I feel like there's so many people out there actually doing stuff on APIs. But let me know if you want me to do something also. But we can see that there are some here. There's a card, and if I select card and run my little app again, we get the exact same thing. So clearly what we got before was a card. And the card usually has a title that is kind of the the primary key, or the fields that have been designated to be used as title pages, title fields on the page. And we have the funky. We can go to the next one and the previous one. In the old days that was done with page up and page down. Doesn't work anymore, so we have to use these. I have a suspicion that these will go away at some point, just because they're complicating a lot of stuff for Microsoft behind the scene. But anyway, this is a card, and researching a bit for this video, I've came across, I was about to do a lot of small drawings and saying, okay, this type of page will produce something that looks like this, or this page type will produce something like this. But then I actually found a page from Microsoft on the fabulous Microsoft Doc website that shows it. I'll put the link in the description below. But it's called, let's scroll back up, Page Types and Layout. And I think actually before we even start, let's talk about the word layout, because that is both very, very correct, but also very, very misleading. Misleading is because what we're actually creating here, if we truly read the source code of the page we just created here. We have asked that we would like a card with the customer table, and in the content area, we would like the number and the name. This is all we asked for. What happens is that this is the way that the rendering engine choose to represent what we have asked for. So we have asked for an abstract type of layout, saying that we would need a card with those two fields, but that can be done in many different ways. And one way to look at it is to grab design and say, okay, so how would this look on a phone? Well, now that the page is rendered this way, how would this look on a tablet? Now it looks this way. So even though it's the exact same source, it's rendered differently depending on the client running it and the screen size. And you have to have this in mind when you're doing stuff, that what you're doing is a request to the rendering engine. Could you please render a usable page with this information? Here's kind of the order and grouping and stuff like that I would like. But in the end, trying to micromanage the layout and as most cases, as soon as you are into using the grid control, you're off. All the good pages in Business Central are created without using the grid and stuff like that, because then they are adaptive, they work. Anyway, let's get back to this. So we're requesting a abstract layout, saying this is what we would like, please render this usable for us. This also means that maybe version 18, 19, and 22 would render the page totally different, and your code should still work on that. One of the, if we go back to one of the revolutions or improvements that happened within the last, I don't know, 10 years, is the high DPI screens. So suddenly you cannot expect a monitor to be at 100% res. It could be, I literally have 3 monitors here. One is running 100, one is running 200. No, I think one is running 125, 150, and 200. So weird sizes on the monitors because they are different sizes, different resolution. I want stuff to be all equal size when I'm looking at it. And like the old nav, suddenly pages and controls got very small because it didn't scale correctly necessarily and stuff like that. But it's a request for layout. Anyway, back to this. So the card is clearly an entity page. If we look at this guy I found, yada yada yada, we'll go through the types here. The 2 principal categories of page types. So card, document, and list plus, that's the weird one, are entity based. So card, we know, we just define a card. If we want to see a typical document page, we could go and then find let's do the sales order. So if we look at the sales order is a document page type. And what does document mean? Let's find, I think there's some awesome so here are some examples of a document page. Typically a document page has a list part, And what is a list part? Well, those are some of the other page types that we have. So basically we have two types. We have the anchor page, the base of the page, and then we have pages that can be inside the page. And the inside are called parts. So there's a card part and there's a list part. Then we'll, at the end of the video, we can talk about some of the other strange ones here. So whenever we want to insert something like on the sales order, we can see that we have a general group, then we have a part, meaning that we're actually grabbing the sales order subform. Subform is a very old name because back in the classic client, pages were not pages, it was called a form, and then you can have a form inside a form, hence called a subform. So the object is still called that, even though this is clearly a sub page or sub part. So if we go look at that one, we can see that this is a list part. So in this case, a document has groups, and then it has a list part. And again, we could put a list part inside a card page, and it will kind of work. But by telling that this is a document, we're telling the rendering engine that the list part should have a bit more space. This should have a dominant place. So by giving it the document page type, we're indicating to the rendering engine, hey, the list part is important here, and thereby it should have extra space. Let's get back to the guy we had up here. List plus is the same thing. A list plus is a page that has a list part as the primary the primary entity, the important entity on the page. Let's go down and find that blah 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 here. So you can see here a list plus is really that is where the list part. So this is not a repeater. That's very important. You putting a repeater on a list plus page just breaks everything. And I've seen that done, that people, okay, you got a list and then you got a list plus, that's like the better version of list. It's not. So the purpose of the list plus, it's an entity where you have a list part that is the prominent citizen on your page. So that's pretty significant. Make sure that you use list plus in the right way. So those are the three entity based, where you're on something either by a card, by a document, or by a list plus. And the decision on which one you should use is depending on the content. And if there is no, like a sales order has lines, so that's like the part, the sub part, and the same thing with list plus. But if there's no sub part, then a card is fine. But as soon as we add something, like we can try doing it in our fantastic thing here. So let's add a part here, and we'll call it orders. And actually, let's see if we can grab this. Let's just grab the sales lines. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't have to make any sense. And we don't care about that. We don't care about that. We don't care about that. So now we got the sales order subform. So let's see what happens here. Oh, I forgot my PageType. Let's go back and say cart. That's probably why it broke so terrible. Here we go. So that looks surprisingly correct, because we had our two fields and then we got the subform, and in this case the list has something underneath it. Forget about the lines here, because those are just lines across all orders. But so this works, but it's not correct. Let's try and go back and say, okay, let's change this to be a document. Come on, timeout after 2000 milliseconds for terminate. I have no idea why I keep getting that error. This one looks the same. I think if we added a bunch more fields at the top, the two would look different. But the purpose is the same, that cart, document, list plus is for entities. So what are the other one? Let's go back to the page here. Let's see where it's a long page. So the two other we have are called list and worksheet. Okay, I like the wording here. I call them lists-ish something. They call it the collection-oriented page types. So a list. Let's get rid of the part here. If we turn this one into a list. So what is a list? Well, a list is a page that has a repeater, and the repeater is the the control that defines that this is a row. So if I put number and name inside the repeater, and suddenly I have a customer list here. If you forget, let's see, sometimes you get very strange behavior if we put a repeater on a. So now we got a cart with a repeater, and this looks like it's working, but you would end up with some strange stuff in some cases. So this is not working. Sometimes you also get crazy margins as soon as the page type is weird. So the last one is worksheet, and worksheet, you can see now it changed, and we actually got the weird margins right now. So worksheet is, well, let's find like the general journal. Let's see if we can find that one. Now people are yelling page numbers at me because I scrolled past it. So we can see that the general journal page is a worksheet. So a list, and I think they're on the great page here again. Let's do worksheet. Here we are. And it's probably important to compare to list. So you can see that list is all about the repeater, and perhaps a single group at the bottom to do a total or something like that. And if you have a repeater and a list part, they will get equal spacing. Where a worksheet, you can have a part before and a repeater after. You can have the repeater before and a group after, or you can have both. So as soon as you want something on top above the repeater, then it's a worksheet. If a repeater was something at the bottom, then you can actually both use list and worksheet. You need to do worksheet if you're having something before and after the repeater. Okay, so I want to mention one more thing. Let's see how I am on time. I'm okay, I think. So that's like the two groups of pages, and that's the base object. But we already tried the list part, and for that I want to talk just a bit about what is a page. So now we're forgetting role centers, because the role center page is different. It's maybe we should do a video on role center, creating role centers. But a normal page has three areas. It has, as we can see here, it has the header area, content area, and the fact box area. This is great. The header area is really out of our control. That will be controlled by the page type. The content area is what we control, and the fact box area is also what we control. We saw here that I specified, no, on this page, I'll not take credit for that one. Here, I specified this is what we want to put in the content area. But that also means that we could go down here and say, okay, let's add in another area. Let's add the fact boxes. And what can you put in here? Can we put the customer name? Let's see what happens. What's allowed here? So now I just put a field. Let's see if, nope. Only parts are valid in an area of type fact boxes. So clearly the only thing we can put in the fact box area, and let's just remind ourselves what is the fact box area. If I go to customers here and I click on the little I, then I get the fact box area. So I could add in a part here, stat, and then I'll do customer details fact box, and I probably need to do a sub page link saying that number equal field number, meaning that I wanted to show the details of the customer I'm on. Let's set this back to a list. And I forgot one important thing. Now you can all take a drink. No application area. So let's do that again. So now we got the little I up here, and I have the customer details, and because I added the link, you can see that whenever I'm switching to a new one, this one is getting updated. So that works pretty well. Can we design our own part thingy? I think we can. So let's do that as the second to last thing I want to do. Page part. Just do. So page type part. So let's start with the page type and then do a cart part to begin with. And let's do source table equal customer and do layout. So this one is just, again, it's just a page. So if I look at area, because I'm in a part type, there's only content. There's not a fact box inside a fact box. And it's also important actually to mention here that on let me go back. So if we're on an entity-based page, the fact boxes are always related to the record in the main page object. So you cannot have fact boxes that are related to the lines. You can do there's hacks where you can go up and call into the fact box and set it, but by design the fact box is related to the main record. So if I add in here, I add the name and the application area, and I add name. No, I'll add address with a couple of D's and so on. And then let's go back to this one, and instead of this one, let's add the one we just created, PageType part. That's a great name. Who came up with that? So I open this, and I have my little fact box here. So I could add multiple fact boxes inside this one. So one thing that's no interest to know that a fact box page is always read-only. Even if we go in and say, okay, I want to make this editable. So let's force that true here, true, and we can say modify allowed true. And we run again, and it compiles happily, and it's just, we go edit list, and this one is still as read-only as they come. So fact boxes are, you can never edit in fact boxes. I know you can do some things with HTML add-ins, control add-ins, but that's cheating, and that'll be another video. But by default, what's here is always read-only. Okay, so the last thing I want to mention is that if we look at this list, so we've talked about cart part. There is, actually, let's do this. I'll just do confirmation dialog. Let's see how, not on this one, guys. Let's change one. So we have done cart. We have done document, list. So there's a couple more here. Let's just run through them quickly. Confirmation dialog. Let's see what happens there. So this is a yes/no page, meaning that whatever right now we got this as a list because we have a repeater in it, and we can say yes, and then it closes again. The fact boxes were never rendered, even though there are fact boxes here, but there's no place for fact box in a confirmation dialog. The other one, next one, is called a navigate page. A navigate page is a wizard, often used as a wizard. So we kind of get a page like this, and what we can do is that we can put actions down at the bottom of the page. So we can do next, previous, back, going back, next, cancel, execute, finish, whatever kind of UI. Again, this what has a couple of years back I did something where I put a repeater in a navigation page, and that was not a favorite at Microsoft. Wow, now we really broke it. You see that we actually got 2 pages. Okay, let's just see that again. So we have the repeater and we have the fact boxes. So we get actually 2 pages. We get the repeater in a page, and then we get a confirmation, and then it gives up. So that's clearly That's clearly broken. That's fun. Let's keep going. And then there is report preview, report processing only, and also XML port here. Those are just weird. Meaning that, let's say that this is type XML port. Now we get something that looks like a, let's just get rid of the fact box. I think the fact box is totally messing this up. And let's get rid of the repeater also, just to make this kind of a, so now I run the XML port again, but just note the two fields. And this is like a standard dialog, which is actually a page type. So if you need to ask your users about something, they can click OK or cancel. That's a standard dialog page. And the other, report preview can actually give you, come on, timeout after 2000 milliseconds for terminate, will give you a page where it has these, and they are kind of doing stuff and not doing stuff, because you shouldn't use them like this. Okay, so I think that covers all of them. So I tend to use, for my stuff, I use cards and lists, and of course, then I use documents. I find very little use for list plus. I find a fair amount of use for worksheet, and I do have a fondness for navigate page. That one is very, very flexible, and you'll see it in a lot of stuff that comes from eFocus. That's very convenient, like having a page up and then a menu at the bottom with some options in it. I do like that one. That's a good page type. Anyway, guys, that's it for this video. So I hope this helped. I'll put the link to the page I looked at from Docs at Microsoft. It's a great page, and I hope all this helps you in designing some nice looking pages. Until next time, have a wonderful day.